Okay, hello everybody. So today we're starting season 2 of A Conversation with Cometan. We finished season 1 with Giulio Prisco, and I mentioned the next guest who I was going to be speaking with, and I'm very excited today to introduce Adriano Autino. He is a very interesting individual and someone I've been wanting to speak to for a while. And I'm sure that we'll have a brilliant conversation. So welcome to A Conversation with Cometan, Season 2, Episode 1. Adriano, can you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you and sort of how you've come to what you do and why as well?
Sure. Thank you very much for inviting me, first of all. And I'm very happy to meet you, to have this chat with you and your audience. So I am Adriano Autino. I am the president of Space Renaissance International. It is a not-for-profit cultural association well, we say it is a philosophical association, in terms that we not only we take care of science in our discussion and our work, but we primarily take care of philosophy.
Yeah.
So in particular, the Space Renaissance is referring to the historical Renaissance of 1500th century, when Medici family and other rich families financed, supported, sponsored the Renaissance of art and culture in that time. So we began in 2008 to think that a new Renaissance is very much needed.
Yeah.
And it should be sponsored by the new Medici families, that are the very rich people that are, how can I say, that took profit of the industrial age.
Yes.
And made very big fortunes. And now it should be time for them to be responsible toward the civilization and take care of financing the new Renaissance. And since we are 8 billion people on one only planet, it is clear that the only possible Renaissance is in space.
Yes.
So we have to open the frontier. We have to start expanding into the solar system in order to take profit of the immense patrimony of resources and energy that is in the solar system. And so to resolve the many problems that we have on Earth by opening the frontier and beginning to expand into space, using the resources for the benefit of the whole humanity. So in this statement, there is the answer to the most common question that every time I made a presentation of my books, or I made a conference talking to people, so people that are not space passionate and are not space activists, so they are, let me use this term, they belong to the normal society. They ask to me, why do you want to go to space while we have so many problems here on Earth? So the answer is that we can only resolve our problems on Earth if we go to space. If we don't, these problems will be even always worse and worse. And we will likely arrive to an implosion of civilization under the pressure of the several crises that are threatening our world and our civilization. So, well, I think this is the first part of an answer to your question about what I'm doing. So I am the president of this association since 13 years now, and I hope that in the Congress that is coming in June, our third World Congress, we will maybe elect a new president and a new directive collective, and that we can step forward. And yes, and the Space Renaissance as an association can grow up and enter a new season of development. So, okay.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's very interesting as well, the Congress. I'd like to know more about that and sort of, yeah, maybe, I don't know, is it available for other people to watch? Can you see?
Yes, yes. It will be, yes, it will be a virtual Congress. We will do it on Zoom platform, or maybe we are also testing some other platform that could be more suitable for to hold a Congress with several symposia, with several sessions and so on, and we all a better organization from the logistic point of view. But however, our default is Zoom, and we will move from that only if we will find something better. So this is, we will hold it on Zoom and broadcast it live on Facebook. All sessions will be recorded and available on YouTube later. So this is the our program. We are planning to hold the Congress from June 26 to June 30. And before that, we have a webinar series that we are doing more or less each one per month. The next one, it will be the 14th, March 14, and it will be on the subject of Mars development and the asteroid belt development and beyond. So the first three webinars were on space tourism. The first one in November. The second one was on space safety from the point of view of keeping taking care of human life and health in space. The third one was the development of Earth orbit and the moon and cislunar space. And this one, the next one will be on Mars.
Yes, that's fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
And then we have yes, Mars is very much of let me say that are landing on Mars in these days. One from United States, one from China, and one from United Arab Emirates. So these are okay, still automated missions. We don't have we don't still have people that can reach Mars and have a personal experience of that environment. But okay, we hope that during the next maybe five or 6 years, this thing can happen. Maybe within 2030, let's say, to be realistic. So okay, so this is the Congress. The Congress, of course, has a in a Congress. So people can just participate attending to the Congress, but it is also possible to present an abstract within March 15, and then a paper, of course, and then to hold the speech during the Congress in June, presenting own papers and discussing with the attendees. So this is what we will do. And of course, I said it is free, and it is true, and but we encourage everybody to become members of the Space Renaissance. registering as member and paying a very modest yearly fee is just 24 euros, therefore 24 euros per year, and having several benefits that come with the membership card. Okay, so.
Yeah, great. I've got so many questions.
Yes.
I think, well, we've had conversations between ourselves over Messenger a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And we were beginning to get into some of the philosophical, religious aspects of our position.
Yes.
Myself, I'm the founder of Astronism, and I would say that it's a religious philosophical movement that is still very much on sort of the outside of sort of the broader space community. We sort of sit on our own lane, if you will. We're in our own lane, and we've got our own ideas that are on the same wavelength as yourselves and people like Giulio Prisco and some of the other people that I interviewed as part of the series 1. But you know, we've got some specific ideas that are unique to us. But what I wanted to ask was about the astronautic humanism and sort of what that is for people who don't know, and how you describe your philosophical orientation, your philosophical position generally.
Sure. So, sorry, I have to just adjust a little bit in order not to be too much dark. Okay. Well, better maybe. So yes. Of course, when I say that space renaissance refers to the historical renaissance, it is implicit that we refer to humanism that came with the Renaissance in terms of taking care of the, let's say, the interest of humanity and human species as stakeholders, so of what we propose. So it means that we take care both of humanity as a species, as an animal, as a sentient being, an intelligence, an intelligent being, self-aware being, and so on, and also from the point of view of the civilization, that is the, let me say, the cultural overstructure that was built during the millennia, no? In our history.
Yes.
So when we make our analysis, our like now we are in approaching the Congress, so we are preparing our thesis documents. And the first thesis will be the status of civilization, the analysis of the status of civilization. So we start our reasoning always from the interest of humans.
Okay.
This is a point of view. Is a let me say, a scheme of values.
Yes.
If you think about Robert Pirsig, for instance, and his metaphysics of quality.
Yeah.
And his 2 fantastic books, Zen and Art of Motorbike Maintenance, and Lila, an Inquiry into Morality. He says at a certain point that it is always better that a society as a social organization dies better than one only human life die.
Right.
This is a choice, because he says that from a let me say, a rather utilitarist point of view, because he say that guy that one only guy could have the solution for one of the big problems that humanity have. So for us, each human life is precious. So each one, now thinking about 8 billion human life, each human life is precious, and not only is their life, but also their rights, and they rise to the freedom and rise to have a genetic continuation, to have children, to love, to be social in contacts, to have to continue our human heritage and improving social relationship, etc. And taking care of the let me say the material side of evolution. We perfectly know that in order that ethics, morality, freedom, democracy can grow and evolve, we need to have enough resources for everybody. Because if resources are limited, then it is more likely a devolution than an evolution.
Yes.
So this concept is also included in the Kardashev scale that make some concepts very well defined. That okay, Kardashev says that there are several levels of a society, of a civilization. There is a level 0 or level 1 that is a civilization that is closed, confined into its own planet. So it can only take profit of the energy inside their limit of the planet. The next level, so if the first one is level 0, the next level is level 1, is a society that can use the energy in its solar system. So the energy coming from the star collected not only on Earth but in space. That's very much more, and continues 24 hours on 24, 7 days on 7, 365 per year, and so on. And so this evolutionary step, is what can allow our civilization to make a quality jump in the direction of freedom, peace, and all the capability and cultural capabilities, etc., etc. So I think these few concepts are the base of astronautic humanism. And okay, we also sometimes we play with some mythological concepts. If you allow me, I would share a few just three slides that I use from time to time to include in my presentations that give an idea of. Just a moment, I will share.
Yeah.
No, you have to allow me, I think.
Let me have a look. I don't want to. Oh yeah, share screen. Yeah. Okay, you should be able to now.
Okay, can you see it?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, so this is the solar system we learned at school.
Yes.
So we have our 8 or 9 orbits, well defined, regular orbits of our planets. And it seems to be a well ordered and sorted system. This small thing that we see here between Mars and Earth orbit is the asteroid belt.
Yes.
Okay, it is, sorry, between Mars and Jupiter. So they told us that it is a small belt of small rocks.
Yes.
But the reality is quite different.
Wow.
This is the reality. So the orbit between Mars and Jupiter is filled of millions of rocks.
Yeah.
There are bigger and smaller. There are quite different things, and many of them are already were already let me say discovered by astronomers and named and so on. But many millions are still to be found and discovered and named, and we don't know where their orbits are going, because of course their orbits are quite unstable.
Yes.
And many of them are grouping in the so-called Trojans.
Yes. Yeah.
That are the Lagrange point between Jupiter and the Sun. So there are two of them, the Trojans and the Greeks.
Yeah.
And sometime one of these objects is attracted by the Jupiter gravitation, high gravitation, because Jupiter is a giant planet.
Yeah.
And with the flyby effect is thrown inside the solar system, in the internal nucleus, where we are exactly here. So what we can see is that the solar system is a boiling cauldron, is something very much dangerous.
Yes.
From one point of view is dangerous, from another point of view is rich.
Yes.
Because all of these things are raw materials. And the good news is that these are raw materials almost at the natural status, in terms that they are not compressed. Because when we have planets like Mars and Earth and so on, all the materials, the minerals, are compressed by the gravity. Therefore, if we want to extract 1 ton of iron, let's say, we have to apply complex industrial processes. But if we reach an asteroid that is composed by minerals like iron and other, also precious minerals like gold and platinum and nickel and so on, these materials are not compressed. Therefore, they are very easy to be mined and utilize it very much, and use it very much easier than on Earth or other planets. So this is the situation: a big richness and a big danger, because we know that asteroids often pass near Earth, and we also know that some of them in past, some millions of years ago, impacted on Earth. Being cause of the elimination of some life species, like they say the old Saurus, the ancient prehistoric animals, were completely eliminated from the face of Earth by an asteroid impact that caused a big environmental disaster and killed all the life on this planet. So this is where we lie, where we used to live, in the middle of this turmoil. So what we can see, okay, I already said something about that we have more than 200 asteroids larger than 100 kilometers in diameter. more than 750,000 asteroids larger than 1 kilometer, million asteroids with a lower diameter, comets, and we know that the Chelyabinsk asteroid that didn't impact on Chelyabinsk, but however made damages in that city some years ago, had a mass of 10 tons and 17 feet in diameter. 17 feet is well, more or less 5 or 6 meters.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. So what we can say, okay, if we look outside the solar system, we have the Kuiper belt, that is another belt of asteroids outside the solar, just outside the solar system. Is over the orbit of Urano and the external planets. Okay, and we have the OORT cloud. That is a giant snowball made of trillions of, no, here it is written billions of comets.
Yeah.
Comets made of ice. Ice and components of life, basic components of life, that is carbon, basically.
Yes.
So here in the middle is our cosmic house, okay? But this reality let us understand that in our system, in our solar system, and immediately outside, there is an immense richness, that there is everything what we need for developing trillions of humans.
Yeah.
And now we are struggling, fighting each other inside the limit of our planet, because we are, let me say, fighting for the residual resources that we have in our planet. We are fighting for the rest of our amniotic liquid, if we want to make a comparison, no, with a baby that needs to have birth in space, because we almost exhausted our amniotic liquid. Okay, we can see this reality in terms of mythology, and here we come to some jokes, if you like, because okay, Jupiter in the Greek mythology is the father of the gods. Okay, he is the father. He is the chief. is the protector. No, Jupiter has all of these roles, and we can think that this is true if we think about the situation I tried to draw before. Okay, we are in the middle, in the inner core of the solar system, where life is developing. Okay, we can see it like a big egg. See the solar system like a big egg, and we are in the middle, where the life is growing up. Okay. Our Earth is a biosphere suitable for the development of an intelligent species with the ability to reproduce itself in the cosmos. Comets and other objects fertilize the inner core and interact therein. The system supports the development of living organisms. The system protects the inner core by large dangerous objects, because Jupiter, with its very big gravity, high gravity, is catching big comets that are coming inside. And we remember the Schumacher-Levy. It was a very big comet captured by Jupiter in 1996.
Right.
When intelligent beings are ground, the system stimulates their liveliness and action, shooting asteroids in the inner core. So Jupiter is throwing strikes to us. Okay, you remember Jupiter sends strikes to Earth, no, in the mythology.
Yeah.
So he's sending asteroids to us.
Instead, yeah.
And yeah, and there are two possibilities. If we are mature enough, we can catch these asteroids and maybe use them. They are raw materials, but we are not mature enough. Asteroids will kill us. So Jupiter will terminate another failed experiment in case we are not mature enough when the next asteroid will come.
Yeah.
Okay, so in some way, the solar system as a living organism is allowing life to grow inside,
yes,
and is terminating failed experiments and allowing the birth of new experiments. So, of course, if human civilization will be a failed experiment, we don't know when and which other animal species will take the button, no, the token for maybe it could be an animal smaller than us, maybe mouses or insects that can reach the the critical mass necessary.
yeah, and
the critical mass of intelligences
I was just gonna
coordinated in order to make the jump to the stars and to be able to master their space region,
yes,
and to step to the stars. So we don't know if humans are will succeed to make the Kardashev step.
Yes.
But of course we have the very big responsibility to try do that.
Yeah.
If we renounce to that, then okay, maybe we'll be another species, but for sure we not be humans to do that. So okay.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. I just wanted to jump in and ask about how this is quite a, you could say, a strong argument for space exploration in the sense that really you talk about a survivalistic, aren't you? You're talking about humanity being able to survive to a level beyond any other civilization that we know of, you know, to a multiplanetary and hopefully interstellar type of civilization. I think that sort of rationale for space exploration speaks to many people, because I get a lot of people asking, well, what is the point of space exploration? Why does outer space sort of have any connection to me as an individual? And I think that is, I think is a fair point. You know, I think space exploration is very a collectivistic type of endeavor, isn't it? It's not about the individual, it's about the collective humanity. And that's how a lot of us speak about space exploration. We don't really talk about in terms of how this will sort of affect you as an individual. I mean, a lot of the work that you're doing and even the work that I'm doing, we may not even see this fruition because we're talking about maybe hundreds or, you know, of years in the future. So even, you know, I just think that, yeah, that's a very, it's a strong argument, isn't it, for space exploration, just the survivalistic approach, would you say?
Sure. Well, what I would say is a very important point, that we are not talking only about exploration.
Yeah.
And maybe we can say that we are making space exploration since 60 years now, from the very first flight of Yuri Gagarin in orbit. But the frontier was not open yet. in the exploration paradigm.
Yeah.
Exploration can be done only by trained astronauts.
Yes.
In order to go to orbit, you have to bear 4 or 5 Gs of acceleration. You cannot stay more than 6 months in orbit because the low gravity and the radiations, the cosmic radiations, will put in danger your health.
Yes.
Like Scott Kelly is a USA astronaut of NASA, demonstrated because he stayed for almost 1 year on the ISS. And when he came back, he wrote his wonderful book, Endurance, where he describes the terrible effects that the low gravity, becoming used to low gravity, caused to him when he came back to Earth. Blood circulation, psychological problems, and his capability to perceive reality also, and a lot of things. So that book should be read.
Yes.
Because, okay, this seems to be a contrary argument to expand into space. But it is not so. If we are serious and we really want to expand civilization into space, we have to work on these problems, to protect human life from cosmic radiations, and to develop artificial gravity as soon as possible. So far, we have 60 years of space exploration in which nobody started to experiment artificial gravity. And it is not that difficult problem, because it's enough to make rotating, to make, for instance, instead of having one only space station, you can have 2 connected by a tether and spinning around in order to have a simulated gravity for the centrifugal force. So we need to start doing that if we want, but we can start giving the right priority to this technological advance and scientific advance.
Yes.
Only if we have the philosophical concept and political view and the political vision that we want to change our paradigm from space exploration to space settlement, to expansion into space and so on. So
do you, I've just got 2 questions. The first one is, do you believe that humans will naturally evolve to adapt to these new environments? For example, living on spacecraft for extensive periods of time, or on planets other than the Earth? Do you believe that we will naturally evolve as time goes on, maybe over hundreds or even maybe thousands of years? Do you think we will evolve or not? Or do you think it's going to have to always be?
For sure we will. My concern, since, as I said, I am a humanist, so is that we should try not to evolve too fast.
Okay.
I mean, if we go to live on the surface of the moon, with one-sixth gravity versus the Earth gravity, after 1 year, 2 years, people can't anymore come back to Earth, if not on a wheelchair, because they will be used to that gravity. So on the moon and on Mars, we would be Superman, of course. Because our terrestrial bones and muscles will allow us to make jumps, to be very, very strong. But becoming used to that, evolving to become a lunar or a Martian, it would be very much difficult to come back to Earth. And this problem is maybe for the first time approached by the science fiction with the series The Expanse, written by James Corey. There are already 9 books, and a TV series was derived from those books. And the title is The Expanse, and it is, I think, on Prime, Amazon Prime. And it is very interesting because that story is in 200 years in the future. And humanity is expanding the whole solar system, including the moons of Titan, Urano, and so on. And of course, the people that are born and grew up in the low gravity environments, namely they call the belters, because they live in the belt, in the asteroid belt, no? are very, very weak when they come to Earth. And there are physiological differences between internal, what they call Earthers and Martians, that were grown up on a certain strong gravity, and people that grew up on Ceres, on Ganymede, on the moons and planetoids of Jupiter, and so on. And this difference generates social differences too. So so I think this is the first work of a modern science fiction that is any more dystopian science fiction, because we had for 30 years we had science fiction only saying that science and technology destroyed our planet, and so big disasters and apocalypse and so on. So this is the first work of science fiction that tries really to have a look on the future from the sociological point of view, from anthropological point of view, and so on. And so, coming back to the question, what evolution can we think for humanity? Yeah, I think we can think about evolution, but we also should take care to not go too quickly, because I think that going outside of Earth, the danger is to have a too quick change, physiological change that can generate very, very much problems and also conflicts and a lot of bad things that we know very well on Earth, and we wouldn't like to see reappearing in the colonies in space. Okay, so I believe that choosing the O'Neill model.
Yes.
So, there was in the 70s, the past century, there was a discussion between O'Neill and Gerard O'Neill and Krafft Ericke. Krafft Ericke was one of the members of the team of Werner von Braun. They were the fathers of NASA, basically. And Ericke supported the Selenopolis, that is a concept of a city on the moon. And Gerard O'Neill made his famous design of the space colonies that are big infrastructures rotating, and so they are artificial infrastructures in orbit in the Lagrange and the moon cislunar environment in Lagrange points and so on. That by rotation can have artificial gravity. And so reproducing inside these structures that can be cylindrical or toroidal, reproducing the Earth environment with the ground and the green environment and water and everything, and having 1g of artificial gravity by rotation. So in my personal view, okay, in our movement in space and essence, we have several different views, of course. We have lunars, we have Martians, we have O'Neillers, and so on. So my personal position is that O'Neill, the model of O'Neill is superior from the humanist point of view, because we can have an environment that it will be more similar to what we are used to have on Earth.
Yeah.
And first of all, okay, we can have green environment even on the moon cities, on Mars cities, of course. But because we need a green environment.
Yes.
We cannot live in iron cans.
Oh.
That will make our brain to go in very strange directions, I think. So, okay, evolution. We were talking about evolution and possible living infrastructures and habitats, and is all connected and in interdependent concepts.
I was going to ask about, I think sometimes the terminology that some people in the space movement can use, it can go a little bit apocalyptic, as in we've got to do space exploration and space expansion, you know, before a particular time, or else humanity will not reach, you know, the idea that we have a window.
Yes.
What
yes.
do you think? Do you think that's the right approach? Firstly, do you think that's the right approach to this topic? And secondly, what do you think is that window? After what time do you think roughly that window for space expansion will end? So there's two questions in there.
Yes, I think the answer to the first question is easy. I definitely say yes. Okay. We have a launch window. What Greg Mariniak defines it at a launch window.
Right.
That is an historical period of time.
Yeah.
That it is limited. It is not open forever.
Okay.
Why it is not open forever? Because we are growing, demographically growing in a closed system, and this is increasing our crisis.
Yes.
We now, the last one is pandemics now. That is very, very an alarm bell.
Yes.
On this point of view, because pandemics is showing us what could be our future if we want to, if we will be obstinate, stubborn, remaining closed. Yes. in the cage, because we are also limited in our movements. Yeah. We are limited in our social nature. Yes. Because we are a social animal and we cannot avoid to be that. We are limited to love. We are limited to make new acquaintances, to meet people, to fall in love, to have children. At the end, this is the very basic. Yes. Characters of human species. Okay. Yeah. So, if we remain closed, I think we are closer to the risk of an implosion of civilization than what we could expect. So I think they could be not wrong, the ones that say if we don't open the system before 2030, civilization is at risk. Okay. The second question is very much more difficult to be, because you are asking to me to exercise my crystal sphere and to say when is the deadline. Okay. Well,
just from your point of view.
Yes. No. Okay. From my point of view, The deadline is unfortunately not so distant in time.
Okay.
Okay, we always have to be careful because you know, it is since the 70s of the past century when the MIT of Boston wrote that famous book, The Limits of Growth.
Yeah.
And each 10 years, the several forums discussed, made of scientists. I'm not stupid guys, but however, they made the discussion, and always they say, oh, the oil resources will be enough only until year 2000. And then it was not so. So in terms that fossil resources are not ended. We are in 2021 now.
Yeah.
So those foreseen were a little bit pessimistic.
Okay. Yeah.
But however, nowadays we have a public opinion that says that even fossil resources are not ended, we should not use them anymore.
Yeah.
Because we are polluting, we are changing the climate and all of these things.
Yeah.
True or not true, however, they are conditioning the political programs, and we have a proof of that now in Europe and in Italy, because with the government that is just was in charge yesterday, the new government by Mario Draghi.
Yeah.
They have as a priority, they have the environmental transition.
Yeah. Mm.
So they will use more than 1/3 of the money that the European Union is giving to Italy, that are about 200 billions, to help to support the ecological transition of industry.
Yeah.
Energy and so on and so on. So we are moving on that idea that fossil oils and energy resources are doing bad. Therefore, we have to stop using. So, true or not true, as I say, because I'm a bit agnostic about the climate change and all these kind of things. However, we have to take care, we have to consider that this is a political orientation that will go. Yeah. So, even if the fossil resources are not ended, however, we will not use that then anymore. And let me say that we don't know where our industry will go, because electrical cars are not that efficient as the old engines in terms of kilometers to be traveled before you have to recharge, and not only, also because nothing is free of charge. You remember Robert Heinlein wrote that famous thing, that Transtafel, no? There ain't such a thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
It was in the Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Yeah.
The book from Robert Heinlein.
Yeah.
So even doing electrical car is not free of charge from the point of view of the environment, because you have the components, the raw materials to make the batteries that are rare minerals that can be found only in certain points, certain regions on Earth, and so on. And the disposal of waste batteries is very critical. So there is not a way to go from the hell to even passing from a non-green industry to a green one, and everything will be fine, and we have flowers everywhere and so on. The problem is that if we stay closed
Yes.
on our planet, there's no solution. There's no terrestrial solution that will allow us to grow up.
Yes. Yeah.
We can go ahead maybe for a few more decades, reducing ourselves, because this is the perspective, reducing humanity if we want to stay closed. But reducing it is not a recover.
No.
It is worse than keep on growing. Because reducing will reduce the markets, and reducing the market, the economy will go worse.
Yeah.
Technology will die, scientific research will die. So
Yeah.
to stay closed in a cage is not the solution.
No.
Everything costs. Everything is a cost from the environmental point of view, and the only solution is to open and go
Yes.
to a bigger ecological niche. This is what we can say from our humanist
Yes.
point of view.
Yeah.
If we are not humanist, of course, everything changes. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because humanism is about that human agency, that sort of, like you said before, placing the needs of humanity at
Exactly.
the forefront of priorities. Do you think then that the environmentalist movement and the space movement are kind of clashing then at the moment? Because Giulio Prisco in my previous video said that they actually can work together, and a lot of these sort of clashes that are taking place at the moment that seem to be taking place, these sort of crashes together are not necessary, or not true, but in fact environmentalism, the sort of the way to resolve environmentalist issues is space exploration. That is the goal. Yeah. That is the only solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, if we look at this problem with a logical mind,
yeah.
What you say is true, that environmentalists will, okay, environment is one of the stakeholders of expansion into space.
Yeah.
One of the main stakeholders. The point is what could bring these two movements to be opposed one each other. Is the fact that the ecologist movement so far was had an anti-technological bias.
Yeah.
So they are against industrial development. They are against technology. They think that technology went ahead too much, and not so the morality and all these kind of things. Yeah. Therefore, I think this could be the obstacle.
Yeah.
Because, well, it is not a mystery that if Elon Musk will succeed, and Jeff Bezos will succeed, and so Virgin Galactic and so on, we will have many more launches.
Yes.
And launches are polluting.
Yes.
This is obvious, and we cannot say that is not so. At that point, maybe there could be let me say a practical reason to be a discussion with the ecologists, because if they will keep not understanding the extreme urgency to move and go out, then they will say, no, we cannot accept this pollution because okay, we know the argumentation. Okay. So this could be one thing. But, well, I believe what we should do is to make our outreach to grow up in order to explain and to make people understand,
Yeah, of course.
to become aware of the extreme urgency to move.
Yeah.
And let's hope that many environmentalists will be also humanists,
Yes.
so they will understand the needs of humanity.
Yes.
This is just a hope. It's just a hope, and not only a hope. It is also a determination to keep on working and doing always better, and having more members to our association that can help and work and convince other people and so on. So we are just like a political movement.
Okay.
We are just like an international party.
Yes.
At
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah. And of course, obviously, maybe you're one of the first international parties where it's not sort of. But this is one thing I wanted to ask you was, do you think that space exploration should be, or space expansion should be conducted as humanity as a whole or as nations? Because this is one question I like to ask, because this is something that's taking place right now. We're seeing these different countries going to sending probes to Mars and things like that. You know, should we be doing this in a nationalistic way, or should it be more humanity as a whole? What's your opinion?
Yes, okay. Also, this is a complex question because it involves also other issues like the militarism and to bring weapons in space and how much can we tolerate the Outer Space Treaty to be okay, someone say evolved, and someone others say to be trashed, and maybe work toward a new legal system for space activities. Because of course in 1967 nobody was thinking about space tourism, about commercial space activities and so on. So of course the Outer Space Treaty is obsolete and needs to be well, some rules are still good, in terms that Outer Space Treaty says that you should not bring weapons in space. And also says that no one nation should take property of celestial bodies against other nations and so on. Now the very critical point is what private companies should be allowed to do in space. And it involved the problem of, okay, I am a big company. I am SpaceX. I invest a lot of money. I have to also to have some authority that in some way protects my investment. Because if I go to asteroids and I want to start mining asteroids, okay, what should I understand Outer Space Treaty in the terms? Are asteroids celestial bodies like the moon, or can we think that they are raw materials, agglomerates that can be used? So there are a lot of legal questions, but from the point of view of what we prefer, if it should be the humanity or single nations, well, let me say I prefer to see a race, a new space race, than zero movement. In terms that if you ask to the philosopher that in me, and we have to push our look in the hundreds and thousands of years, what would we prefer? That the frontier was not opened in time and the civilization crashed because we thought that single nations shouldn't go,
Yeah.
Definitely, I would say let the single nations go.
Yeah.
That thing doesn't prevent us to make our best to stimulate the international cooperation and to unify efforts, because in my opinion, very much more important than to put boots on Mars
Yes.
is to make civilians, passenger, safe to travel in the geolunar environment and to Mars and beyond. But however, what we should give priority and to accelerate our efforts is to develop the technologies to make human life and health protected in space, in order we can start working and living in space. If you ask me what should be the goal, the most important goal, these are the goals. Then, of course, I am also curious, and I hope to see people walk on Mars, as everybody thinks. Yes. Okay. So, should that be done by single companies, by consortia of companies, or by privates, or by governments? Yeah. Let me say, I don't care. Okay. Important thing is that it is done. Okay. Yeah. And I think collaboration, and I think, however, that private companies in their effort need the support of governments. So our politics should support the expansion of civilian space development. And I think the space movement have the duty to make lobbying about that with governments, United States, European governments, UK and China and everywhere, because governments should support. Yes, of course. Yeah. The very strange thing, let me say strange, but at the end it's not so strange, because human history is a series of miracles. Yeah. So yes, we have some private companies that are doing the work. Yes. That nobody was doing. Yes. So we have SpaceX and Blue Origin and the Virgin Galactic and Dream Chaser and others that are doing the work. Yeah. Why they are doing it? Because two crazy millionaires, Peter Diamandis and Greg Mariniak, made the X Prize in 1996 and put 10 million prize to the first company that reached 100 kilometers altitude and so on. That was the triggering of the new space sector and so on. So if this is not a miracle, if we want not call this a miracle, how could we call it?
Yeah, I think that in my sort of day-to-day, what I do, I tend to focus more on of course, on the philosophical and religious rationale for space exploration. We do consider the survivalistic and the economic aspects and the practical side, but I would say that I'm more involved in the sort of philosophical religious aspects of why we need to go to space and maybe the salvation that space can provide us, to use traditional religious ideas. But one thing I wanted to ask was, because in Astronism, we believe that sort of space exploration, space expansion really is sort of is our destiny, really, is both our destiny and our duty as an intelligent species. So what is your ideas about that? Do you think that we are destined to go there, that we have, a duty and a destiny to do this? What do you think about that concept?
Yes. Yes, definitely, it is our destiny. Okay. I think Stephen Wolf is right. Stephen Wolf is an American friend who is developing the concept of evolutionary impulse.
Right.
Is evolving this thing since at least 20 years, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote a book recently called The Obligation,
yeah.
in which he says that he writes that we have an obligation to expand into space because our evolution is driving us there.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
And yeah, I think that the evolutionary impulse was already present from the Big Bang.
Yes.
In the first molecules, something like that. Okay, of the matter.
Yes.
And from inorganic to organic and so on. So in this thought, he agrees with Robert Pirsig that I already mentioned before, because Robert Pirsig make the history of what he calls the subsequent realms that developed in the history, from inorganic to organic to social to intellectual.
Yes.
And Pirsig says that each level generates its own moral code.
Yes.
And the new level generates a more evolved code that is in some way in opposition to the old code, but in opposition, but also integrated with it. And so in his work, Pirsig says that we are now in the middle between the social code and the intellectual code, where the social code was dominated by, I am making a simplification, was dominating by business, by the exchange based on the money, and the intellectual code will be, or for what we can already see, will be characterized by the gift.
Yes.
That people make their activity and work in interest of humanity, and they are happy to give what they can. That is not the old Marxist statement, from everybody, from their capacity, and to everybody for their needs. This is something more.
Yeah.
And I also wrote in my book, in my last book, that a greater world is possible, that we need a new ideological paradigm that is from everybody according to their capabilities, and to everybody according to their wishes.
Yeah.
Not needs. Because if we talk about needs, we also refer to the lower level of the Maslow scale.
Yes.
The food and the basic needs.
Yeah.
If we use the concept of wishes and desires, then we are going to the highest level of the Maslow scale, that is self-realization and self-capability to donate to humanity what our inner capabilities can give. This is reflected in the work of Steve Wolf, because he made a categorization of 7 different types of humans. Because he says there are the explorers, there are the settlers,
Yes.
There are the protectors, there are the designers, and the developers.
Yes.
So, and finally the evolutors.
Yes.
So all of these people have different characteristics and have different desires, different wishes, different self-realization goals. But all of them are necessary. And when we think about social organization, we have always to keep in mind that we are all different. And if you think to another classification that come from Gartner, I think,
Yes.
that classifies the different types of intelligence that are the literature intelligence,
Yes.
the mathematical intelligence, the space movement intelligence, the synesthetic. Okay, Gardner gave maybe other 8 or 10 different types of intelligence. If you put together the Wolf classification, 7 types of psychological types, and the 10 types of Gartner, you have a lot of combination that give us the understanding of how much we humans are different in not only in our face, in the color of our skin, but in our mental attitude.
Yes.
and way of working our mind is working, and all these kind of things. And the great opening of our mind is to become able to understand and work in the interest of all of our different cultural types.
Yes.
And we need space to do that. And for sure, we cannot claim to, so the people that like to be closed, because there are people that like to be closed
Yeah.
and to stay home,
Yeah.
but they cannot claim to keep the explorers to go, because they will die.
Yeah, that's right.
So, okay, we have to understand that. And explorers, of course, while they go, they will give benefits also to the people that like to stay at home.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So this need that we need more humanism. We
Yes.
need more humanism. And today is the Valentine Days. In Italy, San Valentino is la festa degli innamorati, no?
Yes.
Yes, is the lovers. Yes. So I think that space romanticism will save
Yes.
the world.
That's a good, yeah, I love that. That's
Definitely.
a great way to end our conversation today as well.
Yes.
Yeah, a really good way to end it. I really want to, I knew that we won't get through everything in just one episode. So please definitely come back, and we can have more conversations, because
Sure.
there's so much more that I've not been able to get across today that I'd like to do. So please come back for another episode. But again, thank you for everything that you've spoken about today, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch. And I'm really excited. I'm optimistic, and I'm excited, and I think that we're in a time now where, well, I think we're in a fragile time, because I do agree with you that there is a window that we need to be able to do this space exploration in, and the expansion. But I'm also excited for that, and I'm excited for this sort of next stage of humanity. So I wanted to say thanks again, and thanks for everyone for listening. So please join me for the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
of course, you are invited to the Congress of Space Renaissance.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I will give you the link, and you can see the call for papers and everything. So.